Hey, welcome to the channel. We hope that you enjoy today's stories and check out the chapters on the video to see all the stories for today. But before we get into this video, subscribe to the channel and hit that bell icon to get notified when we release a new video. So let's get into the video.
Something is going on, and it is getting worse. I have another update to something I have been posting about for a while, so I am going to combine everything into one post now with date stamps. August 2022. I am up with my daughter in the nursery in the middle of the night, and I hear the distinct sound of someone coming from downstairs, opening drawers in the kitchen, and then what sounded like they were cutting veggies or something. My parents are staying with us for a few weeks to help with the new baby, and the guest room is downstairs, so I figure it's my mom getting snacks. But all of a sudden, my hair stands on end because something doesn't feel right. Now there's this overwhelming sense that someone is in my house. I got up to walk to the kitchen. It is just out of sight from where I was sitting in the nursery, and as soon as my foot crosses the threshold of the nursery doorway, the noise abruptly stops. I go to the kitchen and there is nobody. Then I get this weird feeling that whatever was making that sound may have been trying to lure me away from my little girl. I walked straight back into her room and checked on her, and she is fine, but I am freaking out by this point. I went to check our cameras to see if anyone had gotten up, and both upstairs cameras had been turned off. Guys, I know that I 100% heard someone in the kitchen. I'm still sitting here with my daughter, and not sure what to make of all this, but I'm freaked out. January 2023. Well, things had really died down and I haven't noticed anything for a while. But recently some new things have started happening. Namely, items in her room have been falling off shelves. I would notice things were strangely on the floor like a stuffed animal or her white noise machine. I know this seems rather innocuous, and it seemed that way to me too. Until I saw it actually happen. I was standing in the nursery holding my daughter when the baby monitor fell to the floor. It would actually be more accurate to say it looked like it was pushed off the ledge it sits on, and it hit the ground a few feet away, rather than directly underneath where it sits as you would expect something falling on its own to do. And just now I heard a loud noise on the baby monitor, and in the corner of the video feed you can see a large package of formula in her closet fall to the floor. The package is of tins of formula, not something that tips over easily. I'm getting concerned that whatever was happening before is back in some way. And it scares me that my baby seems to be at the center of this. March 2023. Today, while I was feeding my daughter, she choked on her food, like full on. My husband ran to get the de-choker and I ripped her out of her high chair and gave back thrusts until she got it out. I held her and calmed her down, and just as it gets quiet, my husband and I both distinctly hear a child laughing from somewhere in the house. When I heard it, I looked up at him and he was giving me the same look and we both whispered in unison, "What the heck was that?" I haven't told my husband about the other things I have been noticing. I still don't know what is going on. Whatever it is, I don't think it caused my daughter to choke on her food. But I think it enjoyed that she did choke on it.
The Devil by the River. This is a true story that I did not directly experience. Let me explain. I must have been 12 years old during the time I visited Colombia in 2004 with my older brother in the summer, visiting some family. We were really free in the fact that we would go outside and play with the neighborhood kids and come back in the evening to eat dinner. In this neighborhood, there was a river behind these apartments, and there was always the saying that it was haunted by La Llorona, which is a Hispanic urban legend about this woman who drowned her kids and would cry in agony at night mourning for her kids in regret. Now this story is not about that, not at all, maybe something even more terrifying, and I'm glad I wasn't the one to see it with my own two eyes. Anyways, it was broad daylight and my friend Santiago, my brother, and I went to walk around the river. Being the kids we were at the time, it was fair to see that we were slightly spooked about that urban legend, but it was okay since it wasn't the dead of night. After about 5 minutes of just minding our own business and throwing rocks at the nearby trees by the river, some stuff went down. I just remembered turning around and seeing the face of my friend Santiago in utter shock. Both my brother and friend screamed.
What the hell is that? Do you see that?
I was too scared to turn to see what the hell was going on because the next thing I knew, Santiago and my brother were ahead of me, and I did not want to be left behind. After getting to the street and escaping, God knows what, I quickly asked them what happened. The two looked at each other and said if they saw this demonic creature hanging on the tree smiling at them. They both confirmed the same description, and luckily for me my eyes didn't lay on it. I can't believe they saw the freaking devil, I thought, but then I realized that they must be trying to scare me. I went with the flow as they were still scared about what they just saw. I believe in what they described because now that I'm 26 and my brother 30, I would ask him every blue moon if what experienced wasn't a freaking joke. At first, he was pretty hesitant to even confirm nor deny what the hell he saw, but as time passed, he realized that it was the real deal.
If you're enjoying today's video, smash that like button and consider subscribing to the channel for more videos and interesting stories. Now let's get back to the stories of our lives.
Demonic dreams and following the events. This is a story from just before I moved house. I felt like I was going crazy in this house. I just want to add on that we were the end house, and the house next door was completely abandoned. So, this all starts. I had taken a nap in the middle of the day. I was in a dream, and everything was normal. I sat on the sofa with my friend, and I all of a sudden became conscious I was in a dream but said nothing. There was a weird tension in the air, and I looked at the box of tissues, and a tissue went flying up through the ceiling. I said, "If there's someone here, do that again." It did, but I caught it that time. I then turned to my right, and there was a massive goat, inches from my face. For some reason, I knew it had human teeth. In my head, I thought, "If you are what I think you are, talk." It went to talk, and I stopped it. It turned its head a little like it was annoyed and then let out the most demonic scream. It immediately woke me up, and I could still hear it for a few seconds as I was forced wide awake. I didn't tell anyone as my partner at the time was scared of this stuff. The mood in the house had changed. I would joke, "There's a ghost in the house." And he would say,
"It won't do anything."
A few days later, I was at the hospital with my mom. I get messages freaking out to come back, and when I got back, he was sitting outside with the dog, terrified. He explained he was standing in the kitchen making a drink when he heard my voice say, "Are you okay?" So, he turned round thinking I was back, but no one was there. He turned back to make the drink, and he felt hot pain down his back. I looked, and 3 deep red lines down the middle of his back. He has very short nails and could not do it himself. The scratches were there for 3 days, and after that, he left. A week later, my mom came to tell me that the night before she had heard me at the bottom of the stairs shouting, "Mom!" It was 3 a.m. and I was fast asleep upstairs. She said it sounded like my voice but knew it was not me. A few weeks had gone by, and I was in the hallway bringing in shopping when it felt like someone had grabbed my bum. I walked into my mom and said, "Something just grabbed my bum." We joked it was the ghost, and she said,
You dirty pervert.
I went back to the bottom of the stairs, and I heard the demonic scream again, and even my mom heard it. I ran out the hallway. My heart was racing, and I was frightened. I then hear what sound like footsteps upstairs walking away. Since moving out of that house, I've not had any activity to that extreme. I believe it followed me from my old house and the abandoned church.
My childhood home used to be a school, and I'm pretty sure it traumatized me. Now, I don't know a ton about the history of my childhood home, but I know that it was old as hell and one of the creepiest places I've ever lived in. It was a 4-story house, fancy, right? With lots of dark spaces and long stairways. Basically, it was really big. There wasn't a moment in that house that I felt like I was truly alone, and there wasn't a hallway that felt truly empty. I was just barely out of toddlerhood when I started to develop severe anxiety. I was afraid to do anything alone. I was always checking behind me, sleeping with my head under the covers, seeing things, hearing things, you name it. I'm almost 100% sure that there was something paranormal making me feel that way. I wasn't the only one seeing and hearing things, though. My older brother shared a room with me, and he always slept on the top bunk. His bed was maybe a foot away from the ceiling, and the attic was right above us. He told me that some nights, he'd hear adult footsteps right above his head, just circling the attic. But it gets weirder. He's told me that at one point, he woke up next to a shadowy figure, just lying in bed with him. He claims the figure had 2 white specks for eyes, and that it wasn't acting malicious, just lying there silently. This might have been some kind of sleep paralysis hallucination, but considering the other events, I wouldn't be surprised if it was some kind of spirit. And now on to the worst one. The playroom. That room was the creepiest freaking thing in the house, and I get shivers just thinking about it. It sat at the end of a long hallway on the top floor, just below the attic. My room was down the hall from it, and it was always pitch black. I remember staying up at night, staring at it, just in case something moved. I often couldn't take my eyes away for fear of something appearing if I did. Somehow, every time I looked at that doorway, the door was wide open. And the door wasn't weak either. It worked perfectly fine and wouldn't open unless you tuned the knob. I'd ask my dad to close it before I went to bed, and it would stay closed for a bit until it just slid open again. I'm not a door specialist, but it was just arguably creepy. But wait, there's more. Now that we're older and out of that house, me and my brother found out that we shared a terrifying experience. We both saw something incredibly creepy in the same place. I remember it vaguely. It was a small, neutral, glowing white face in the playroom. It looked a bit like a little kid, from my memory. It had nobody, just a pure white face in the dark. It was around my height, and its eyes were kind of just not there. I don't remember much, but I remember it was the single most terrifying thing I'd been through. I don't know if I hallucinated or what, but I know it felt incredibly real at the time. Maybe it was a dream or something, because all I remember is seeing that freaking face, getting scared, and running back to my bed. I don't think I screamed, but I seriously don't remember. I kind of love/hate thinking about it because it just makes my hair stand on edge. Thanks to that house, I have now been diagnosed with anxiety. I am taking medication for it, and I'm all right, but I thought it was worth noting. I could go on, but I can't really think of anything else right now.
If you've enjoyed this video, consider subscribing and check out more videos from the channel.